absolutely mutually loving and supportive. Unless we think it's something else, unless we think it's a problem. So that's why when it's said, the problem is that so many of you get caught up in the contrast and don't simply see it as contrast, but as a problem. So you sit and stew over it and make it your life story. And I know I did that for many years, kept dealing with the contrast, trying to manage the contrast. And then from there it said, you put so many rules and restrictions on yourself to stay in that place of contrast, using stories about loyalty to family, friends, employees, employers, children, strangers, etc. You use them to keep you stuck in your story of contrast. Nothing remains the same ever. All is ever changing. Your attempts at keeping things the same are what cause the dis-ease in your bodies and your minds. So I recommend that you try something new. When you are in the midst of something that doesn't feel good to you, get up and walk away. Give yourself permission to assess it, to decide and ask yourself, have I explored all the possibilities? And then choose and change. This takes courage because others will not be in agreement, but then others will admire you for being who you really are. And when you find those others that admire you for being exactly who you are, and the contrast of the people who were not happy with who you are, what you've done is you've allowed God to move you to your people, to the people that were placed in your life. So there you'll find your true family, there you'll find your people, there you'll find your life. And the others are on purpose also. So now the question, what should you do? You should use this contrast. You should take the steps today toward what it is you want and what will bring you life and joy. And walk away from that does not. It's really hard for a personality to get that. Do not use others as your excuse not to live your authentic life. Because there is a payoff to staying stuck with somebody else and feeling the victim of somebody else. We give up who we really are. We forget what we came here to do. We forget that whatever we're doing is a full package. It all is connected. We don't just have our personal relationships, our romantic relationships, and then we have our careers, and then we have our physical body. It's all connected, and it's all working together. And when we feel the dis-ease in our body, we might as well look at our life and say, how is Spirit speaking into my body that I am out of alignment with who I really am? Not that there's a problem with my body. There's a contrast between what it feels like when I'm in alignment and what it is when I'm not in alignment. I need to look at something. God is speaking to me. Source, God, whatever you want to call it, is speaking to me, into my body, into my life. And when somebody comes up and they're in severe contrast with who we really are, instead of saying, ow, that really hurt, please put the hook in deeper. That feels awful. I think I'm going to live with it for a couple of years now, or maybe 30 or 40 or 50. Eventually you'll change and tell me I'm lovable. It's crazy. It's like taking the person who inflicted the wound on you a long, long time ago, taking him into the surgery room and saying, please, do the surgery on me. Would make no sense. No sense at all. Because their purpose and their role and where they're at is perfect for who they are and where they're at. And they're also receiving guidance. This is not us, oh, I've decided I'm on my spiritual path, therefore I'm the one receiving guidance. And nobody else is getting this information. Everybody's perfectly where they need to be. And you have said things that were not so perfect to other people that also provided contrast to move them on their path. We were not brought in here to do things perfectly. We came in here to evolve. We came in here to understand and know and receive love and to bring that into the world. And a lot of times it looks like it's opposite. And it's okay. And that's why the quote starts out, and whenever I've journaled, I was always so taken by the fact that everything you're doing is fine. Because we have a tendency, when I would journal, it's like, why can't I do this right? Why aren't I doing this perfectly? Why do I keep doing this to myself? And the answer is, you're doing it just fine. Can you hear that? What would a loving voice sound like to you when you're going through a trial? And it knew that you really are doing just fine, and this is on purpose, and you will keep receiving this because you're choosing it until you choose something else for yourself. I would say you're doing just fine. You're getting closer to making a different choice. And choosing love for yourself never means hurting somebody else. You stepping away from an abusive situation doesn't mean you've hurt the abuser. You've changed up the energy for everybody. It's when you stay in it that you keep it alive. So we have to work with what are these feelings, what are these things called feelings in our lives, and what are these relationships about? Our feelings are our internal guidance system that gets us to the place of what we came in here to do. And all these failed relationships are leading us to our loving relationship. And the one that has to start is the one here, for me. Because otherwise I'm going to need something from you all the time. So that's where it's taking us. There are loving relationships. There are people who use contrast as contrast to get them where they need to go. There are wonderful spiritual relationships that allow people to grow. But they have to choose it. We have to choose love. We have to stop choosing ones that are not loving and try to make them work. We have to stop going into the surgery room with the wrong surgeon. And we have to heal ourselves by loving ourselves. Thank you very much.